Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the Extra Mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now, your host, Jackson Mummy, owner of the Celebration Bar Review.
Everyone, welcome to episode 207 of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. This is your host, Jackson Mummy. I'm so glad you're with us this week. We are counting down, and if you are listening to this on our release date, we are within a week of the July 2018 bar exams. How exciting is that? Pretty cool. I know that some of you are like, and some of you are going, really? It's a week till that exam? Who knew? So, in any event, we're excited about it. There's a lot going on, and today's episode is really a special one. I brought one of my staff members, a key member of our team, Kelly Perkins, on to talk with me. Kelly is my co-host on our weekly webinar that we do for our students, a Q&A, and we thought we'd sort of recreate a little bit of that webinar feeling in today's podcast, and I would just talk with Kelly a bit about what it's like the week before the bar exam. And as you'll hear, Kelly does our group coaching calls, and she's got a great rapport with our students, and having been through a couple of bar exams herself and really understanding this this entire process from all angles, she's got great insights. So I wanted to share her thoughts with you today in the interview that we've got coming up. Now, before we turn to that interview, if this is your first time on the podcast with us, obviously we want to welcome you. We're glad you found us. You can always find our podcasts on our website at celebrationbarreview.com. There's a podcast button at the top there, and you can find the archive going back to our very first episodes. You can also watch these episodes on video. Just go to celebrationbarreview.com/, and then enter the episode number. This is episode 207, so you can find it at celebrationbarreview.com/207. And of course, if you prefer to get your podcasts on audio, we're on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, and we're syndicated a lot of other places. So make sure you check us out. And really, we'd love it if you would just take a minute, particularly on Apple, in the podcast for iTunes, to just give us an honest rating and review. This helps other people find the show, lets them know about the work that we're doing, and we really appreciate you taking just 30 seconds or so to do that. You know, as we wrap up going into another bar exam, we've been doing these podcasts for several years now, and the growth of our audience has really been nothing short of extraordinary, at least to me. I'm pretty amazed at it every week to see the numbers grow. But I appreciate so much the feedback and response I get from folks, and the number of people I talk to every week who say, you know, I've been watching or listening to your podcast for a long time now. I appreciate that we have such a loyal audience, and I hope that these episodes have proven to be valuable and useful for you as you prepare for your bar exam. Now, if you're taking the exam next week, we're going to get to the material you want in just a moment. But for those of you taking the exam in 2019, I want to make you aware of a special opportunity. We have a free live webinar called How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. It's a look at the powerful, proven way to pass. We'll be offering that webinar live on Thursday, July 26th, so right after the bar exam, at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 o'clock Pacific time. You do need to register for this webinar, and you can do that in one of several different ways. You can link up to it in the show notes from the audio podcast. If you're on the video podcast, just scroll down the page and you'll see the link to sign up there. Or you can go to our website at celebrationbarreview.com/webinar and sign up there. I think you're going to find this webinar to be extraordinarily helpful as you get underway in thinking about taking your exams in 2019. We're going to walk through the 4 steps that successful students follow. We're going to give you a roadmap. We're going to share some case studies with you. I think you'll find it really, really helpful as you get underway. So I want to encourage you. It's completely free, and I want to encourage you to check that out. Now, if Wednesday the 26th does not work on your schedule, we also have an on-demand version of the same content. You can schedule your own showing at your own convenience. The only difference is I'm not live to do a Q&A there, but you can send your questions through the chat box. They'll go directly to me, and I'll respond to them personally. So either way, you can sign up and get that information, but don't miss out on it. It's life-changing information to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. I also want to let you know that if you are in our course, or if you're thinking about our course, we are going to be offering a live 2.5-day workshop in Celebration, Florida, right outside Orlando, more specifically right outside the gates of the Magic Kingdom of Disney World, on November 30th through December 2nd. This will be a 2-day photo reading seminar on Saturday and Sunday, preceded by a half-day Friday afternoon essay writing workshop. We're going to be bringing in our senior editor, Megan Saya. I think we may even be able to get Kelly in here for this as well. So we're excited to have a team together to help you with your writing on the first day and then looking at photo reading. And if you're interested in finding out more about the boot camp, enrollment is now open. It is a limited enrollment opportunity. And you can go to celebrationbarreview.com/bootcamp, BOOTCAMP, bootcamp, for all the details there. All right. Well, I want to jump into this interview with Kelly. It's fun to talk with her. Kelly started with us as a student in the course. After passing the Florida bar, she became a member of our editorial team and staff. And then over the years, we've increased her responsibilities, and she now manages, as you'll hear, our Facebook social media program. She handles our group coaching calls, and we're going to talk a lot about that in the interview today. And she also does some mentoring of our students. So Kelly has got a unique perspective. She really is wonderful at this. And as I say, she's my co-host on our weekly webinar. And we thought it would be fun to just talk a little bit more casually about what this last week of study is like and what people should be doing. So if you're taking the exam next week, stick around for this. If you're not taking the exam, I think it's really useful to hear what this last week is like from someone who's seen it from all aspects. So let's jump into our conversation with our Facebook social manager, group manager, cohort, and webinar co-host, Kelly Perkins. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are really glad to have you with us this week. We're doing something very different with our podcast. As this episode is scheduled to release, we will be within 7 days of the July 2018 bar exam. And I was thinking about, what do you say to people a week before the exam? How do you kind of cover all the bases and talk to folks that are getting ready for 2019? And I thought, well, I have nothing left to say. So I'll bring in one of our key players at Celebration Bar Review, Kelly Perkins. And so Kelly is here with us today from Denmark. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you for having me. It's my first podcast episode ever with anyone in the whole world. So I'm very honored.
Yeah, how weird is that? So let me just briefly tell our audience a little bit about you, and then you can fill in the blanks. Kelly holds a number of different roles at Celebration Bar Review. First and foremost for me is that Kelly does our group coaching calls. She manages, mentors, monitors, leads. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Also, Kelly is our Facebook private group manager. And so there's a lot that goes with talking with people and working with people in the Facebook private group. And Kelly is also a staff mentor working with some selected students on preparing for their bar exams, doing the kind of coaching that I do, probably much nicer. And,
in a vacuum, Jackson, in a vacuum. I have one student. I'm good.
There you go. So we're excited about that. That's a program that we've been expanding. We're looking to expand. And Kelly is also a former student of ours, barred in Maryland and in Florida, and living in Europe, which is incredibly cool. And when I grow up, that's what I want to do. So glad to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. This is a busy time as we're recording. We're coming right into that sort of lead up. And as I said, we're going to be releasing this episode a week before the exam. And I just thought it would be really cool to share with our audience what your experience has been, both as a bar taker and as a bar mentor and teacher at this point, because it's such an emotional craziness. Oh, and I forgot to say one of the big things that Kelly does is she's my co-host on our weekly webinar. How did I forget that? I'm sorry. We do our version of Regis and Kathy Lee, or Regis and whoever these days. Kelly, there you go. I'm becoming more like Regis every day, apparently. So we do that every week. And Kelly is my co-host, and we answer questions and all that. So this is kind of like our live weekly Q&A, except that it's not on a Friday afternoon. So
no rolling comments, and sadly June is not here to monitor our behavior. So
true.
We'll have to behave ourselves.
That's right. Our administrative director, June, which we commonly refer to as the fairy godmother, is enjoying her day away from us. So there you go.
Yes.
All right. So it's you and me flying solo-ish. So there you go. All right.
Okay.
All right. So now we'll get serious, because I know there are a lot of people out there like, okay, stop with all the stuff. Just get to the good stuff.
They love us. They'll love
Okay.
us. It's fine.
They love you. All right. So what you've been doing these group coaching calls, and this is an opportunity for students in our course to come together on a weekly basis. You do them, keep them fairly small, and you do multiple. I know you've got like a bunch scheduled over the weekend.
Yes. Yes.
What kinds of questions are you hearing as you roll into the last week or 2 weeks before the bar exam?
I think I hear a lot of questions about, okay, what do I do the last 2 weeks? What do I do the last week? How do I set that schedule up? I get about 70-30 with folks that are done with substantive review and they're in the review period and they just don't know what to do now. And then I have the 30% who are saying, I'm not really done with the substantive part yet, but I'm hearing all these acronyms, OPE and all of this, and what is that? And they want to know if they should jump into the review period or finish the substantive outline. So those are the two things I'm hearing the most right now.
So as someone is watching or listening to this episode in a week to go, where should they be from your perspective?
I think they should be, to borrow one of your phrases, landing the plane. They should be coming down. They should not be doing, in my perspective, I don't think they should be doing 9 to 12 or whatever hour days that they were doing in their heyday. Yeah. But maybe 6 hours, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, maybe some paraliminals, definitely working out. Yeah. We stress that a lot in the group coaching, some type of stress management, whether that's exercise or working in your garden or something. So yeah, because I think stress management is a big part of it leading up to the exam. And if you're not handling that before, then you're going to run into problems with sleep and focus and all of that.
Yeah. Do you see people wanting to push harder at the end, kind of counterintuitively to what might be in their own best interest? They're trying to do more, as though reading one more outline or doing one more set of practice questions would make a significant difference for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been there. I remember going into the night before the exam thinking, oh man, I wish I had one more week. I would just know everything about trusts, and then trust was not even on the exam. So it doesn't even matter.
So there you go. Part. So take that, predictors. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really hard for people to level off at this point. It feels like you should be still digging pretty hard. I mean, as if you're listening to this episode on the day we release, you're looking at the clock and you're going, wow, I got 6-7 days to the test, depending where you're taking it. And I got to really use that time productively. And so when we say to people, cut back, tail off a little bit, that really feels counterintuitive. But there's a reason for doing that, right? I mean, when you get to the exam, you want to be at your best, not your lowest point, because you're exhausted. When you're talking to students in our course, and we're talking about de-stressing and some of these other things, what do you get as a sense of how they're generally doing setting up and coming into the test?
I think a lot of my folks on group coaching are less stressed than I have seen them during the sessions. I think at the beginning of our sessions, everyone's kind of on edge. It's a new program, or they just found out that they failed and they're retaking. So that's the more stressful part. Yeah. Right now, I think more people are just saying, you know what, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I'm getting up in the morning. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm getting good rest, and I'm just going to go in there and do my best. Yeah. Which is kind of where I want them to be going into test day. Maybe from my perspective, maybe a little bit more aggressive.
Let's talk about that.
I'm going to go get this test.
Let's talk about that sort of sense of aggression. Because I think you do a nice job of explaining that to students. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my background with the Florida bar. So I took Maryland bar one time, passed it, no problems. Practiced for about 6 or 7 years, wanted to come down to Florida, and just got my butt handed to me by them. So I took the test 4 times. And on the 3rd and 4th time, I think, I just went in with this I'm going to demolish this test. I'm not going to leave any any chance, any points undone, they are not going to have any reason not to take me into this bar. And so I kind of went in with a little bit more of a push instead of a, it is what it is and whatever. I really had something to prove to myself. So I try to tell students that take that aggression and a little bit of that sadness that you got from finding out that you didn't pass the first time, and focus that in, saying to yourself, well, I'm not going to make those mistakes again, or I'm going to be more confident next time. I'm going to trust myself more this time, and then just leave it all on the table. You should be exhausted when you get out of that exam.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of try. And it's okay to be chill and very zen and whatever. I think that's a good focus too. But for me, I was a little bit more aggressive, I think.
Yeah. And of course, in your situation, you had the really unfortunate experience of coming so close, missing by just, was it a point?
It's a point or two each time.
Point or two, yeah. And so then when you passed, you blew right past it. I mean, there was no doubt. But I think that sort of fear and frustration comes up. And I want to talk about this idea of fear, because so many of the students that we work with are repeat takers. What do you see? I mean, is there this fear of the bar exam that maybe we didn't have a few years ago? Is it something that's growing?
I think it's just the fear of failure in general. And I think there's a lot of pressure on people because of student loan debt, number one.
Yeah.
Two, I mean, a lot of our students this is a second career for them. So they put a lot of time and energy to go back to school, and they have a lot of people counting on them, family counting on them. It's just a lot of pressure. We don't sometimes have the typical right out of school students that aren't really caring about the student loans at this point. It's just like a monopoly number. We have people that are working full time and have a lot on their plates, and this takes a lot out of their life. So when you don't pass, or you are scared of not passing, it puts a lot of added pressure on you that the bar examiner is not putting on you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I always think that that's very interesting to unwind with people.
Do your students in group coaching talk at all about their relationships with family and friends during this period? Yeah.
Yeah. We were joking last week that I should have a session with their significant others.
That's a great idea, actually.
This week, and just warn them and be like, just go somewhere else, or just say yes, honey, you're right. That doesn't sound crazy. All of these things, just to give them tips on how not to get eaten for breakfast by the bar takers.
Yeah. Be a bar whisperer, right? Yeah. I like that. You're right, honey. You're exactly right.
You're right.
Yeah.
I just thinking things I would want to hear. You're right. Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's such a stressful time, and I think we lose track of the fact as bar takers that our families are taking the bar with us, but they don't get to go in the room. So they go through all the trauma, all the work, all the missed events and activities while you're studying, and then they have to sit by and they're totally passive while you're taking the test, and then waiting for the results and getting the results. And it's really, really tough on relationships and on the people that are around you. And this week before the bar exam, you're entitled to be a little selfish as a bar taker.
Yeah.
But next week, after the bar exam is over, you got some apologizing to do, most of you. Okay? I mean, was that a fair statement to make?
Yes. You need to be filling up other people's tanks.
Yeah.
Where yours has been filled up. People are depleted. So they need to be filled up by you.
Yeah, and they really don't want to hear your postmortems of the bar exam. That's what we're here for. So don't unload. I mean, unless it's a dog or a cat. The cats won't listen. The dogs will fall asleep. But outside of that, if it's a human person, please do not do that to them after the bar exam. Truthfully, no one actually cares except you, us, and the bar examiners. So it's a weird world in that regard. What about, one of the questions we get a week before the exam is, should I be doing full-length practice tests at this stage? What's your take on that?
I think yes.
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of people in group coaching who over the weekend have done the February 91 exam in test conditions.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, we have a lot of people work full time, so the weekend is the only time they could actually do test conditions. before the exam. So yeah, I think you should definitely do one.
Yeah.
Just do something. Get used to sitting on your butt for 3 hours.
Right, and have a game plan, right, for how to do it. I think a lot of people who struggle on the bar exam never take a full-length test, and then they have no idea what that process is like. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can speak to this. It's grueling, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very physically exhausting, and I don't think a lot of people realize that when they're going in if you have not practiced before. I mean, you get tight. I mean, you're hunched over. It's a lot. So you kind of have to learn what's a comfortable position for you, and how long, what breaks you need to put in. And I know with some of the photo readers, you guys already have game plans for when they're going to take their scheduled breaks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because our photo readers will finish the MBEs in 2.5 hours or less. So that gives them the time to stop in the middle and take a bathroom break or just put their head down or do something else. And that's a huge advantage, frankly. It also means you're not guessing at the end to get those last 10 questions in. So, but anybody can do it. I mean, it's even if you're not a photo reader, if you're hearing this episode and you're thinking, what the heck, photo reading? You can, the approach that we teach, what we call selective intuition, which is trademarked, by the way. But selective intuition is this idea that you answer really from your whole brain, your inner mind, so more so than your conscious memorized mind. And to do that, you try to answer the question in 90 seconds or less. Now, you shouldn't try to do that for the first time on the bar exam. If you have never done it before,
right.
I'm not suggesting that. But if you've been working with some of those tools and techniques, 90 seconds is great. It's a good way to sort of pace yourself through that part of the exam. And I definitely would encourage people to do at least one full-length multi-state if you're taking that test. Now, another part that comes up at this stage is the prediction game. We talk about it on our webinars because people think, I think, and I understand why they believe this, but it's sort of like if you could predict what's on the exam, boy, that's really going to give me an advantage. But the reality is that the bar exams are not predictable anymore. We don't have the ability to say there's a pattern. They're going to test this subject every 3 exams or 4 exams or whatever it might be. So talk a little bit about the person who thinks that they've got to know everything. They've got to have the predictions so that they can really key in on a particular subject or a topic within a subject for the bar exam. Good strategy, bad strategy?
It's a waste of time. Your time is really valuable right now. And to sit and ponder what could be on the exam is taking away from doing another MBE question, another review of an essay, a mind map, relaxing, anything. Because we're not, as far as I'm aware, none of our students are psychics. So we don't know what's going to be on the exam, and neither do you. So just study everything, and please get this idea out of your head that you need to make 100% on the exam. No one is going to get a perfect score on the bar exam. Isn't that right? Yeah. I mean, you've been doing this longer than me. I've never heard of a perfect score.
No.
So you're trying to
there are a couple of people that lie about their scores, but
okay.
They're the same people that say they have a 93% pass rate in California and they can predict all the essays. So there you go. Reality bites sometimes. It's a tough test. I also know that there are the people that think that what they should be doing in the last few days is to write 20 essays in that period of time, that they should just go crazy, just write essays from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, all day long. What do you say to that kind of a student?
Well, that sounds like me when I was studying.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
It does. I did a lot of essays. So I don't think it's really good because I don't think then you can actually put in a good review of the essay. I limited my essays to one a day. Yeah. I think I did one a day up until the weekend before, and then I did no essays. I just reviewed my 4-column exercises. That dating me a little bit, but 4-column exercises and MBE questions. Yeah. So keep fresh. I mean, yes, I think maybe an essay a day, especially if you're a UBE or, I mean, 30 minutes in an hour. I think that you could do that.
Right.
Pretty easily. But again, that's what time you have. I mean, if you're working full time, luckily all the times I took the test, I was able to get the week off before the exam. So I was able to have a 3-hour block and then another 3-hour block in the afternoon.
Yeah, that helps a lot. What do you suggest? I know when you're talking to students at this point, you're talking about setting a routine for this last week. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it feels so funny. It feels like it's like I'm a sleep trainer. Like we're talking about babies, like you need
Yeah.
to go to bed at this time. And but it's true because you're gonna get some kind of anxiety, either good or bad, before the test. And but your body is going to remember that for the past month you have been going to sleep at 9 o'clock. So if you are writing essays all day or doing MBEs until 2 in the morning, your body is going to think that you stay up until 2 in the morning. So just kind of going from what you were saying on our last webinar, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, eat the same thing. Just get into a routine, because you don't want to wake up the day of the exam and be like, oh, I don't know, I usually drink tea, but I don't know if I should drink tea today, or
Yeah.
should I go work out in the morning? Oh, I only have an hour. Like just set it up now. Set it up now. It's 2 days of your life that you have to do this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, just set the routine.
Right. I think that makes a big difference. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it also is important, as you set this routine leading up to the week of the exam, that you sort of game plan what those couple days are going to be like for you. What am I going to do on Monday night? What am I going to do on Tuesday night? Where am I going to stay? Am I going to a hotel? Where is the hotel? Where's the test center? Is my computer set up properly? We've been telling our students, make sure you watch your emails on Monday night and first thing Tuesday morning, because the company that does the bar testing software has a nasty habit of changing their software on the day before the exam, inexplicably. But having those sort of game plan things out, right? Even to the point for our students of saying, we plan on what question number you're going to stop and take a break, so that you know what it is you're going to be doing. You've been through the bar exam, obviously, a couple of exams, and is it safe to say there is drama at the bar exam?
Always.
Always, yeah.
Always. If definitely, if you are one of those people who picks up others' stress,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare place. So that's why you really have to be in tune when you go in. You do have to be calm and ready, or determined, as we talked about before.
The drama of the test is huge. Keeping yourself focused and out of the drama. What do you suggest to do to keep yourself out of that drama?
I mean, I think you should have a set time when you go to the exam. I don't think you need to get there really early. I mean, especially if you've gotten there a day or so before and you've walked to the test center, you know where it is, you timed yourself, you know how long it's going to take you to get there. I think that you go in, get your ticket, and either go back outside. I know in Florida you can go back outside and just relax, or something like that. And also in Florida, there's a room on the bottom floor where you can put a backpack or sandwiches for lunch or whatever. You don't have to. And also, if you went to a Florida law school, they will provide lunch to you. Yeah. So these are all just logistic things you need to figure out for the day. Yeah. But as far as staying out of the stress bubble, I think just kind of getting out of the test center until you have to come into the line. You don't get bonus points for being at the front of the line. Right. Everyone is going to get into the exam and get seated. You're all starting at the same time. Just ignore everybody. Bring headphones, I think, if you can.
Yeah.
Even if, I think, Jackson, in one of your videos, you say, even if they're not hooked up to anything, you could just kind of put them in your pocket and people will think that you're not there. But you'll see, there's a lot of people that are very tunnel visioned at the test. No one really wants to talk to you. Not that I remember.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. And if they do, it's like, ooh, you're creepy. Stay away from that. Okay, so that makes sense. And certainly lunches, wherever you're taking the test, whatever state or location, think about what you're going to do for lunch. Typically, the lunches they serve at bar exam sites are not great. So it's a good idea to pack something if you can and bring it. But definitely you don't want to sit with people, even if you're, just coming out of law school and all your buddies are there. That's the worst group to be with at lunch, because all you're going to do is rehash the morning and make yourselves crazy. So again, kind of being off on your own, being isolated. In our course, we talk about paraliminal recordings that you can play during the lunch break for yourself to reset your mental state and your physical state, kind of get you back in the flow. So encourage you to be doing those sorts of things. And then after Tuesday night, preparing for the multi-state on Wednesday, I know that there are courses that say do 50 questions a night. That's not us. Our response to people for that night before the MBE would be what?
Oof. Go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Come
Eating is
back
good.
and relax in your room. Maybe do a handful of questions.
Yeah.
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
Wake up the next morning, do a handful of questions, and go to the exam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really common sense, and I think that there's a lack of that, obviously, at the end. I know you'll see that in your group coaching calls a bit this week.
Yes.
People kind of going, ah! And I think it's important to not overshare, right? In social media or anywhere else, just kind of keeping to yourself and doing what you've got to do, I think is a big part of this. And then when the exam is over, whether it's Wednesday or Thursday, how did you sort of de-stress and let go of it? What's the strategy?
I slept. I think it is so physically exhausting, and so I remember sleeping, and I had booked a flight kind of later in the day so that I didn't have to be stressed about getting up early to go to the airport or whatever. One of the times I went and stayed with a friend who was close by in Tampa, and they had little kids, and little kids don't care about what you just did the last 2 days. So that was kind of perfect because it was just like you get back into real life again, and this is what's going on in other people's lives. And yeah, people want you to come back just to hang out, to relax. So I think if you could plan something with friends, just know the couple days after, I remember like waking up in the morning and thinking about, does the vice president have powers over the Secret Service? I don't even know. But that was one of my MBE questions. And I remember waking up and just like, I'm not sure. I don't know what I put. And it didn't matter. Obviously, I passed the exam, but that will happen. That will happen. So if that happens to you, don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. It still happens to me 28 years later. So I get it. Well, cool. Well, what other advice would you have? Anything else specifically that you would want our audience to know at this point, a week out from the exam?
Right now, you're just polishing everything off. I would hope that people wouldn't think that they're going to be able to cram some enormous amount of information into your head within the next week. You have this information at your disposal, and just trust that you do. I think that's what I see mostly from students who are so anxious right before, is that they think, oh, I need more time. I really need to like open my brain and pour in civil procedure and I'll feel better. But you've put in so much work. We've had students that have been studying for 8 or 9 months. Yeah. Or students that have been studying for even 6 weeks. But they're retakers, so they're just reviewing too. And just to let them know, like, you've got it. You've got it. This is a really hard test. All you could do is go in and try to kick that test all over the place and and then walk out and start your life again.
Yeah, so, let it go. Go to the exam to show what you're capable of, what your competencies are, and then it's up to the examiners to grade you, whatever state or jurisdiction you're in. I think it's easy at this point to feel pretty picked on. If you're a California bar taker, you're looking at a score that's so ridiculously high that you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, what choice or what chance do I have here? But I think the better way to do it is to say it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go in. I'm going to show that I'm capable and competent, and then I'll leave it to the examiners to decide if it's good enough. But that's not your job as a bar taker. Your job is to just demonstrate the best that you can. And the best way to do that is to be clear-headed and to be on a routine and doing what you've done in practice. Obviously, there are people who didn't put in enough time and energy, and they know going into the exam it's not going to happen. If you're in that situation, I think you want to just treat this as a practice run. If you know that you haven't done the work, the days of the bar exam where you could just walk in cold and take it and pass are long since gone. That just doesn't happen anymore. So I think it's important to be realistic about your chances. But realistic doesn't mean pessimistic. It just
Yeah.
means don't be delusional. Don't think you're going to pass if you didn't study, but don't think you're going to fail if you've been working and doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? Is that the
There
key?
are still people that pass all of these tests. There's no
Yeah.
reason that
Yeah.
it cannot be you.
Absolutely.
I think when people think of the low numbers, especially when you're looking at like California or sometimes Georgia and
Yeah.
Florida,
Yeah.
they think, oh, but look at that. That's not that many people. And you can be in that percentage. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do that.
Yeah. And we've been very fortunate to have people like you who beat those odds all the time. And one of the great joys for you and for me is to be able to talk to those folks afterwards. I know you bring them into your group coaching to talk to the new students, and they're on our Facebook group. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? When
I love it. I'm having someone come on one of the calls today.
Okay. So so hidden guest here. So I think it's a really cool thing to be able to do and to recognize that it is manageable. You can pass the exam.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, listen, I know you've got a busy day of group coaching ahead of you. And your day's already like, I don't even know, 6 hours ahead, 7 hours ahead of us.
4 o'clock.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What a world, right? One of my key staff members, is in Europe all the time. So there you go. But it's great to have you on the podcast with us. We're going to have to make this kind of a more regular thing. I like doing it this way. I like just, we do this every week on the webinar, but we just, I think we got to do more podcasts like this. So
I think that'd be super fun.
yeah,
I'll be the John Lovitz. Yes.
There you go. Does that make me Favreau or Vitor?
Yeah, you're Favreau for sure.
Favreau. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Well, cool. Well, listen, thank you again for everything you do for our students. I know that when we're doing the interviews with successful students, and this is the thing that comes up all the time. We're talking and they say, yeah, Jackson, you're okay. Your course is okay. But Kelly in those group coaching calls and Kelly and then it's like, oh, really? Come on, But that's great.
Not accurate, people. Not accurate. Not accurate.
But really, for everybody who's been listening today and watching, if you're taking the exam in July, in a week, we wish you the very best. It is possible to pass, as Kelly said, and that should be your expectation going in. And if you're taking the exam in 2019, well, this just kind of gives you a feeling for what's ahead. The journey is really a fascinating one on so many levels, isn't it? To watch how people evolve and grow and develop. It's kind of fun as a teacher now, isn't it, to see that growth that happens.
So I'm so happy and proud all the time when our students tell us about their improvements and where they come from.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. So we wish the very best for everybody that's taken the exam. Thank you, Kelly. Hope you survive the final push to the exam, and then we will sleep as well on this end for a bit. This is stressful for us, isn't it? I mean, you thought it was tough taking the exam. Now you're the mother hen to all these people going out there. It's almost worse, isn't it?
There are so many people I wish I could fly and see them the morning of the exam and just give them a huge hug or meet them at lunch and like bring them a sandwich. You have no idea, you guys. We care so much about you. And we put so much time and energy, especially Jackson, to making sure that we put you in the best position that you can be in to pass this test. And we really want all of you to pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you all for being with us today. And with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, that's our episode for today. I hope that you found it helpful and had as much fun listening as Kelly and I did recording it. She's a hoot. I love spending time with her. She's got such a great insight and perspective on this, and students just love working with her. I think you can see why. Want to remind everybody, if you have not been through our webinar, How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam, join us free on Thursday, July 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern. You need to register on this page for the video or by going to celebrationbarreview.com/webinar. Sign up for your free spot in that webinar, and then we will see you on the 26th. To all of you taking the exam next week, we will come back next Wednesday while you're in the exam, but this is our opportunity to say good luck to you. We know you've worked hard. I appreciate all of you being such a loyal audience and offering your insights and thoughts and questions throughout this process. We really wish the very best for you. We know that going along the extra mile, there really aren't any traffic jams when it comes to passing your bar exams. So we know that you've been the extra person, the special person who's worked hard, We look forward to a great result and a great week of testing for everybody. So safe travels. We'll be back in touch with you after the bar exam. We'll have some episodes coming up about what you do after the test, and we'll start aiming towards the February 2019 exams. Take care, everybody. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at www.celebrationbarreview.com.